So what happens when our deep-seated ideas about faith, freedom, and, free will crash right into a future of total technological surveillance? That's what we're diving into today. We're going to explore a world where every single move is tracked, every person is basically given a score, and what it even means to be human gets put to the ultimate test.
All right, let's just jump right in. To really get a feel for what's at stake here, I want you to imagine a day in the life of someone living in one of these, fully networked surveillance states. We'll just call him Her M for now.
So Herr M's day gets off to a really rough start. I mean, he literally can't leave his own apartment. And why? Well, it turns out the system flagged him for reading some, let's say, unapproved articles online overnight. His social score took a nosedive, and bam, his front door is locked. Just a little friendly warning.
Okay, so once he's finally allowed out, the very idea of anonymity is just gone. Every camera on the street logs his face. He gets on the subway, and that little chip in his hand, it automatically pays his fare, and at the same time, it's logging his exact location, right down to the second. Every single move he makes just becomes another data point for the system.
Then, at the office, he sees his colleague, and she's got this glowing C on her little hand device, all synced up to her chip. C for compliant, of course. And because her score is so high, she gets all these little perks, discounts on her electricity bill, things like that. It's really this public performance of conformity, and it feels like everyone's playing a part.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because it's all about how subtly the system keeps you in line. He goes to the supermarket, tries to buy groceries, and his payment is just declined. It's not some big dramatic punishment. It's what the source material calls a soft shot, just this little frustrating thing designed to nudge him, to remind him of his thought crimes.
And to top it all off, the day ends with an official summons, a mandatory re-education seminar. The goal? To correct his behavior and, of course, get that score back up. You see, there's just no escape. The system that he literally carries around inside his own body always gets the final say.
So here's the thing. This whole story about Herr N, it might sound like something out of a sci-fi movie, but the scary part is, it's not. It's built on technologies and ideas that are already out there, right now.
Okay, let's start with the microchip implants themselves. You might be surprised to hear this, but in Sweden, thousands of people have already voluntarily had these things implanted in their hands. They're tiny, no bigger than a grain of rice. And they use them for everything, opening office doors, buying lunch, even as their train ticket. It sounds like the ultimate convenience, right? But it begs the question, where does that convenience stop, and where does the control start?
And this image, wow, it just nails the central fear, doesn't it? It shows you how quickly something so profound, like a permanent change to your body, could be marketed like a fast food special. Get 2 chips and we'll throw in your personal index for free. The complete digital file on a human being, treated like a freebie you get with your combo meal. This idea of us policing ourselves just because we might be watched, it's actually not new at all. The philosopher Michel Foucault talked about this way back in the 70s. He called it the panopticon. The idea was a prison where you, the inmate, never knew if the guard was actually looking at you. So what do? You just behave all the time, just in case.
And that's the perfect bridge to today. We've basically moved from that original prison of stone and iron to this invisible digital panopticon. The guard tower isn't a physical building anymore. It's a vast network of algorithms, cameras, and data centers, watching us from everywhere and nowhere all at the same time.
Man, Foucault's words from back then have never felt more true. He said we become objects of information. Our lives are just turned into data points for a system we can't even see, let alone have a conversation with. In the end, we're not the customer, we're the product.
And this drive to index every single person, it's happening all over the world. It just looks a little different depending on where you are. In the West, we call it surveillance capitalism. Big tech companies profiling us to sell us more stuff. In a place like China, it's the government building a full-on social credit system to maintain stability and control. So you've got different motivations for sure, but the end result is kind of the same. The human being becomes a searchable, sortable data set. So this brings up a massive question. What happens to the soul? What happens to our whole idea of what it means to be human when we can be totally indexed, scored, and controlled? This is where, according to the source material, we're not just facing a tech problem, but a really deep theological crisis.
And Christian theology has a really powerful counterargument to all of this. It's a concept called imago Dei. The idea is simple but profound. Every single human being is created in the image of God.
That means our value, our worth, has nothing to do with a social credit score or how useful we are to some system. It's just there. It's inherent. It's sacred. And you just can't put a number on it.
And this is where these two worldviews just smash right into each other. Think about it. A surveillance system that claims to be all-knowing. From a theological perspective, that's basically playing God. It takes free people and turns them into objects to be controlled. And, for some people, this idea of a system where you can't buy or sell without some kind of scannable mark, well, it sounds a little too close to the mark of the beast prophecy from the book of Revelation.
This image, it really captures the whole dilemma perfectly, doesn't it? You've got these figures representing religious and state power, literally looking down on us, the little people, on a giant circuit board. It's a powerful visual for how these ancient forms of authority are getting tangled up with brand new technological ways of controlling our lives.
But, faced with this pretty daunting challenge, the source material doesn't just sound the alarm and walk away. It actually tries to propose a path forward, a kind of charter with ethical guardrails for our digital future.
And the central idea is a new kind of legal framework, which it calls a non-chipped act. Basically, a charter designed specifically to protect human dignity by drawing some really clear, hard lines in the sand for these powerful new technologies.
This whole idea rests on four main pillars. First up, guaranteeing the right to have analog options. You should always be able to pay with cash, use a paper ID, you get the idea. Second, any system that scores people based on their behavior, that's got to be banned, period. Third, and this is a big one, our data should be used to serve us, not to manipulate or control us. And finally, we have to protect the right to just disconnect, the right to be forgotten, to just be left alone.
Because ultimately, what the source reminds us is that none of this is set in stone. This future isn't inevitable. Technology doesn't have a destiny of its own. We are the ones making the choices. And the choice is pretty stark when you think about it. Are we building a world that's more like a garden, full of life, a little messy, with unpredictable growth? Or are we building a server room, perfectly efficient, totally controlled, and kind of cold?
And that leaves us with one last pretty haunting question to chew on. As we all embrace the incredible convenience of this seamless tech, is it possible that we're slowly learning to love the very chains that are binding us? It's definitely something to think about.